everyone, this is Miss Englert, and this is Monday, April 5th, 2021, 8.1 AIM. Why is that atmosphere layered? This is going into our weather unit, which we are starting today. So what you're going to do is you're going to first click on that link that says youtube.com, and you're going to watch the video called Felix Baumgartner's Supersonic Freefall. You're supposed to watch it anyways, but highly recommend watching it. And then imagining yourself if you would ever do anything like that. It's very, very, very thrilling to watch. On the second slide, you're going to label the cards in order from what you think is the highest altitude or highest elevation off of the ground to the lowest altitude. On slide 3, you're going to explain why you placed the cards in that order. So here you're going to go ahead and label these. We have A is Felix Baumgartner's Skydive. So if you look at that picture and you haven't watched the video yet, go back and watch that video. We have Ruppel's Griffin Vulture as B. We have C, Commercial Airlines. D, meteors when they burn up in the atmosphere. E, top of a cumulonimbus cloud. F, the Kármán line. G, the top of Mount Everest. And then H, the International Space Station. So you're going to label 1 you think is the lowest in our atmosphere and 8 you think is the highest, and then try to label all the rest in between. On this slide, go ahead and explain your ordering. So why did you decide to put the order in the way it did? So if you said the order is A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, explain why you think that. So some quick reviews for y'all. Let's quickly review from last semester, the history of oxygen in Earth's atmosphere. So Earth, you got to remember, formed 4.6 billion years ago. 4.6 billion years ago. And an atmosphere formed when gas was released by volcanoes, otherwise known as outgassing. So if you see a word underlined and it is blank on your slide, please go ahead and write in the correct word. Then about 2.3 billion years ago, oxygen entered the atmospheres and the oceans. Where did that oxygen even come from? It was not originally in our atmosphere. So that oxygen actually came from these little squiggly guys here. So these little squiggly guys are called cyanobacteria. And they actually form in these really gross, goopy mats. We still have these things called stromatolites, which are formed from cyanobacteria. And you can find them in places like Australia and in the middle of Tanzania, actually. We have about 90. So if you go on your Earth Science Reference Table, you can see the composition of our Earth's atmosphere. The majority of our Earth's atmosphere is made out of oxygen and nitrogen. I believe it's actually mostly nitrogen, but I'll check on that. That's what we have the ESRT for. That other 1% of stuff includes water vapor, so H2O as we know it, but in its gaseous form. So we have water vapor, aerosols, which are tiny particles, and we also have ozone. So on this slide, you guys will see there are some words missing for you. You're going to fill in those words as you go. So our first vocabulary word is the atmosphere. This is the envelope of gas surrounding the Earth. It has 4 main layers that all vary in temperature, pressure, and water vapor content. This word is actually humidity, which we will be going over in a few days. Our first layer of the atmosphere is the troposphere, and this is where weather occurs. So this is the layer closest to us. We could be standing here on the surface, just doing our thing, experiencing weather. That's an extremely tall person, but that's fine. This is where we have all of our weather. Then that barrier, it's not a true barrier, it's going to be a boundary. So again, we went over boundaries last semester, about the boundaries between the Earth layers. These are just layer, these are just markers that show when the troposphere ends and the stratosphere begins. And what we call that, the thing that separates the troposphere and the stratosphere, is called the tropopause. So that's the word that's going to go in that blank. Our second layer is the stratosphere, and that is where our ozone layer is found. The stratopause separates the stratosphere and the mesosphere. You can also say mesosphere, either is correct. So the mesosphere is our third atmospheric layer. This is where shooting stars burn up in the mesosphere. So whenever you see meteors coming through the Earth's atmosphere, they burn up because of the friction of the molecules in Earth's atmosphere, which is really freaking cool. Then we have the mesopause. That is what separates the mesosphere and the thermosphere. So again, mesosphere, mesopause, mesosphere, mesopause, whichever is correct. Then our last layer, our fourth layer of the atmosphere, is the thermosphere. The thermosphere is extremely thick, but it's not dense at all. We're going to talk about the distinctions in between each layers more tomorrow. But in this layer, the temperature actually increases extremely fast. So we have a drastic increase in temperature, which is why, part of why it's called the thermosphere. So therm means heat. So thermosphere is our heat layer. And that is it for the notes. Hope you all had a nice break, and go ahead and email me if y'all have any questions.